The tremor comes first, not as a sound, but as a vibration in the soles of their feet. It is a low, persistent growl from the gut of the earth, a sensation the small band of Australopithecus afarensis has felt before, but never with this intensity. The familiar canopy of acacia trees shudders, raining dust and dry leaves onto their furred shoulders. Birds explode from the branches in a panicked cloud. For a moment, there is only confusion. The alpha male bares his teeth at the shaking ground, a useless gesture of dominance against an enemy he cannot see or strike. The world of the late Pliocene epoch is a place of brutal certainties, but this is a new and terrifying language. Then, the mountain speaks, with a deafening crack that feels like the sky splitting open. The flat top with a distant peak vanishes in a blossom of blackened orange. A column of smoke and incandescent rock punches into the heavens, so vast it blots out the sun. The sound that follows is not a sound. It is a physical blow. A pressure wave that flattens the tall grass and slams into their bodies, stealing the air from their lungs. Panic, pure and absolute, seizes the clan of 17. The young shriek and cling to their mothers. This is a force beyond the charge of a D and other IUM, beyond the ambush of a Dinofelis. This is the world itself turning on them, a profound violation of every natural law they have ever known. A rain of grey ash begins to fall, hot and stinging. It coats everything in a monochrome dust, choking the air and burning their eyes. The matriarch, her face a mask of ancient wisdom and a new terror, utters a series of sharp, guttural barks. Not a plan, not a command. Move. There is no thought, only the instinct to flee from the descending horror. But where? Their entire existence is etched into the memory of this one valley. Every fruiting tree, every hidden water source, every safe sleeping nook is here. As they scramble away from the roaring mountain, a deeper, more immediate threat emerges. A low, rumbling hiss echoes from the valley floor. It is not water. It is the valley itself, liquefied. A boiling, grey slurry of mud, shattered trees, and superheated rock. A lava, consuming the riverbed and surging outward. The choice is made for them. Uphill, away from the flow. They are not a coordinated unit, but a desperate collection of individuals bound by a fragile thread of shared terror. A mother, her infant clinging tightly to her back, stumbles in the deepening ash. Before she can fall, a young male, not her kin, grabs her arm and hauls her to her feet, his hoot of alarm urging her forward. It is not altruism as we would know it, but a deep, primal recognition. To be left behind is to be dead. This is the bedrock of community. They claw their way up a steep, milky outcrop, the hot mud licking at their heels. From this precarious perch, they watch the apocalypse unfold. Their world, the only world their ancestors have ever known, is being erased, buried under a steaming blanket of death. The air is thick with the smell of sulfur and burning life. The familiar green is gone, replaced by a hellish, moving sea of grey. They have survived the first wave, but as they huddle together, panting and trembling, a new and far greater fear settles in. They are alive, but they are utterly, terrifyingly lost. Dawn does not break. It seeps. A weak, bruised light filters through the perpetual twilight of the ash cloud, revealing a landscape of ghosts. The familiar contours of their world are gone, smoothed over and silenced by a thick grey shroud. The air itself is a foreign substance, gritty and dry, scraping the back of the throat with every breath. First, a far more ancient and relentless tyrant than any volcano begins its work. The infants whimper, their mother's breasts offering no relief. The clan huddles on the rock, a small island of bewildered life in a dead ocean. The matriarch, the living repository of their cognitive mapping, rises stiffly. Her eyes, which could once read the seasons and the slant of the sun and the migration of animals, now see nothing she recognizes. The internal map, passed down through generations, is a useless, blank scroll. For 2 days, they are paralyzed by this profound disorientation. a state of being that is a death sentence in the world of prehistoric life. They chew on ash-coated roots they dig up from instinct, but there is no water. The weaker members become listless. Their movements slow. The alpha male, his physical power now irrelevant, grows agitated, directing his frustration at the others with short, aggressive charges. It is the matriarch who holds the group's fragile social cohesion together, not with strength, but with a quiet, grounding presence. Yet she has no answers. Her authority was rooted in a knowledge that no longer applies. The unspoken trust that binds them is fraying, threatening to dissolve into individual, doomed struggles. Survival in this era of human evolution is a collective enterprise, or it is nothing. It is a young male, one of the smaller, less dominant ones, who breaks the stasis. He has been sitting apart, not staring at the dead landscape, but at the tiny signs of life that persist. He watches a column of ants, miraculously alive, marching with disciplined purpose across the grey dust. He sees a dung beetle, a creature of instinct, rolling its prize in a determinedly straight line. They are moving away from the dead mountain. He rises and approaches the matriarch, his posture submissive but his eyes urgent. He points, a gesture simple and profound. He points at the insects, then he points to the horizon. Then, crouching low, he brings his cupped hands to his mouth and makes an exaggerated lapping sound. The meaning is abstract, a connection across species and concepts. They move, they know, they go to water. This is the birth of a conversation without words, the first hesitant grammar of a proto-language. Most of the clan ignores him, seeing only the meaningless antics of a frightened subordinate. But the matriarch watches, her ancient mind grappling with this new kind of information. It is not memory, it is not instinct, it is deduction. The young male repeats the sequence, his gestures more insistent. He mimics the scuttling arts with his fingers, then points again. His hooting soft but clear. He is not just pointing at a thing, he is communicating an idea. This is the challenge for all human ancestors. To bridge the gap between individual perception and shared intent, she faces a choice. She can rely on the old ways, leading them on a random, hopeless search, or she can trust this flicker of emergent intelligence. She looks at the dehydrated young, at the growing despair in the group. She turns, looks where the male is pointing, and gives a short, decisive grunt. She will gamble their future on an idea. The descent from the rock is the first act of faith. The small band of Homelian moves as a single, hesitant organism, a fragile chain of trust in a world of ash. The young male leads, not with the confident stride of an alpha, but with a cautious, searching gait. Every few paces, he stops, points, and repeats his crude symphony of gestures. The scuttling ants, the cupped hands, the urgent lapping sound. The matriarch follows directly behind him, her presence a silent command to the rest. This is the way. Some follow out of fear, others out of instinct. But for the first time, they are moving not toward an own landmark, but toward a shared idea. This is the essence of what will one day define early humans and their ancestors. The ground is a treacherous carpet of fine powder over unseen fissures and sharp rocks. A fall here means a broken bone, a death sentence delivered by inches. They reach the edge of what was once a savanna, now a vast, open plain of grey. The lack of cover is a primal terror etched into their genes. Here, they are exposed, visible, and slow. The air is still. The silence broken only by the soft crunch of their own feet. A flicker of movement in the distance. A darker shape against the grey haze makes them freeze. It is a Dinophallus, the false saber-tooth, a killing machine perfectly adapted to this open ground. It has seen them. The cat moves with a terrifying, liquid grace, low to the ground, using the subtle undulations of the ash dunes as cover. The clan bunches together, their brief unity dissolving into a knot of rough air. There is nowhere to run, nowhere to climb. The predator charges, a blur of muscle and lethal intent, singling out the most vulnerable target. A female with a juvenile clinging to her leg. Panic explodes. But, as she stumbles, something extraordinary happens. The alpha male, whose physical dominance was so useless against the mountain's fury, finds his purpose. He does not run, he turns to face the charge, lets out a deafening roar, and hurls a fist's sized rock. The stone sails harmlessly wide, but the act of defiance is enough. For a critical second, the cat's focus shifts to this larger, louder threat. In that instant, two other males join him, screaming and waving their arms, creating a wall of desperate noise and motion. It is a profound display of social bonding, a testament to the power of the group over the individual. This is the kind of evidence that future fields of anthropology and archaeology will spend centuries searching for. The Dinofelis, faced not with fleeing prey but with a coordinated, shrieking defense, hesitates, snarling, and slinks back into the grey mist. They have not defeated it, but they have survived it, together. The encounter leaves them trembling, exhausted, but fundamentally changed. The shared danger has forged their fragile new communication into a stronger bond. The young male, his face grim, points again, this time with a frantic urgency. They press on, driven now by the memory of teeth and claws. After another hour of stumbling through the endless grey, he stops and grunts, pointing not to the horizon, but to the ground. A line of hardy weeds, their leaves are shocking, vibrant green, has pushed its way through the ash. It is a vein of life in a dead body. They promise. They follow this green thread, their pace quickening. The air grows heavier, thick with the scent of damp earth. Then they hear it. A soft, impossible murmur that grows into the most beautiful sound in existence. The sound of running water. They scramble over a final rise and see it. A small, clear river, flowing from hills that the ash had not reached. Its banks lush with ferns and trees. It is a sanctuary. They fall to their knees at the water's edge, drinking not just water, but life itself. They have found a new home, a world claimed not by inheritance, but by a conversation that began with an aunt. This was not a singular event. Across the vast tapestry of prehistoric life, such scenes of desperation and discovery were the crucibles of our becoming. The volcano was a filter, an indifferent force of nature that stripped away the certainties of instinct and memory. It was an evolutionary bottleneck that could only be passed through the narrow aperture of abstract thought and collective trust. For these ancient humans, survival was no longer just about finding the next meal or avoiding a predator. It became about creating a shared reality, a map woven from gesture and sound, to navigate a world that had become terrifyingly new. What scholars of hominid history would later piece together from scattered bones and stone tools was born in moments precisely like this one. The terrifying necessity of cooperation. This act of pointing to the horizon and trusting the gesture. This leap of faith from one mind to another is the foundational event of our species. The distance between that frantic gesture and the ash and the intricate data streams of our modern world is merely a matter of scale, not of kind. It is the echo of a single, desperate idea. That way, together, that built everything we are. The universe does not think, but, in the face of its silence, we learned to speak to each other. And that is the thread that leads from them, to us. But what happens when the enemy is not the sky or the earth, but the reflection in the water?